Legendary moments will be captured. So stand up, scream, and make sure the boys feel you.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
What is going on, Cowboy Nation? Welcome back to Primetime Studios. Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Phil. And of course, man, beginning of the season, it starts out. This is the first one right before the first week. And of course, my host joining me at Game Time, Brian. Like, I don't know how to do that for some reason. What's going on, Game Time?
It seems like it's been forever, Phil.
It has, man. I've been seeing you. I'm like, oh, right when I'm about to
it hasn't,
text.
but it just seems like it has.
Well,
but
you've
we're
been
gonna
doing
be getting real cozy soon, soon.
I know I haven't really done much on the YouTube channel, and you've been doing a lot of stuff out there. You have your lunch chat each day. You have stuff with Mark Holmes. You're popping up on Cole's Cowboys. It's like you're all over the place. You're making that press tour. That press tour that Brian is doing as I'm sitting here just keying away, just trying to do my thing. And then, of course, I present him today with this nice Looney Tunes type of background. And he's like, what is going on here? And, hey, man, I don't even know sometimes until I'm done with it. And so here I present to you my final project here.
But, you know, it's looking at it now on my 75-inch TV. It's like a beautiful mind here, you know, watching you. It's like you do your thing. I love it. That's all that really matters, as long as we like it, right? We hope the people like it, but at the end, it's like you're doing all the work. So
yeah.
Hopefully, you have to like it. Sometimes it gets boring doing the same old.
Ultra Cowboy, I like it. I like
Cowboy stuff. You know what I mean?
Ultra Cowboy says, "Great Gallup picture. This is my rebound player for this year." Hey man, that's a wagon to jump on right there, man. I don't blame you. I expected great things.
You can see Ultra Cowboy now. I'm just happy with that. You know,
that took a lot of different things. I took different approaches. You know, you have to watch a couple videos. You do it one way, and then okay, let me try it different. Okay, It ended up being I had to do it on my phone. Like on a Thursday at 7:00. No, okay, but no, I had to at least do it on my phone, and so that's how I was able to find it. So it was
good. We could see it. I don't have to relay everything, but yeah, you know,
here we are, man.
I'm with you, man. I think Gallup is destined to have a real good year, but I don't know, man. I think
we got a lot of weapons. They got a lot of weapons.
Colbert by the end of the year might slide ahead of him, but who cares? You know, he's full speed. That's all I care about. Clearly, he wasn't last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I look at this team, I watched your 53-man prediction. I watched obviously what the Cowboys did, and so I wasn't jumping out there too much because I had my predictions. I wasn't sure about Jabril Cox making this roster, but then again, I was thinking that maybe possibly just because the shortage of linebackers that were out there. And again, Jabril Cox never makes an impact with this coaching staff, and you got to understand, this is a coaching staff that can really use everybody like a Swiss Army knife. You know, it's like you see Bell, a little small little dude. He's rocking 14 now, and he's doing what Cox should have done, playing up on that line of scrimmage, getting his nose up in there in that ball, stopping it, doing, you know, making a push for Curse and all them. We have a great safety core, but that's where you're seeing some of those guys push into the linebacker position. So to me, Cox was one of those guys that it hurt a little bit, and I think it wasn't the fact that he left. It was how he left with the possibility of still making this practice squad, and he said, I'm going to go to Washington. What do you think about that move by him? Do you think it's smart?
Yeah, I don't, you know, like I said on one of my videos, I said I don't blame any of the guys. The only guys that we lost was Land. We absolutely lost him.
Oh my God!
Cox could have came back. Will Greer could have came back. Dennis Houston could have came back. They all went for better situations. Like I was telling Linda Conyers, I don't see her in the house right now, but was there as well. When people start taking your players off of your team, that means you're drafting well. That means you're doing well. We get upset. I was very upset with Land, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little more. But I don't blame any of these guys for going for more. It's all about opportunity, you know. If you're going to be number 4 here, as in Will Greer, why wouldn't you go to Denver? You know, especially after what you saw last year in Denver. you never know. And like I told Mark, man, Phil, if Will Greer, everybody's all upset about Will Greer. If he would have played anywhere near what he did it in the last game, in the first
it
two
wouldn't
games,
have been. Yeah.
or in training camp, he didn't. It was almost like he knew he was gone. No pressure, you let her rip. Well, unfortunately, there's pressure, man. It's how you handle it.
That's how. Yep.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you're looking at this roster, and you're making these cuts, man, Lands, that's the one to me. It stung a little bit because I'm thinking about past this year. You got Lawrence getting older. You got Fowler. I think you made a really good point earlier when you said that in one of your videos. But you got these guys that are just aging, and I'm not saying that they're not contributors because they are. They're key players. But you need to make way for some of these younger guys. But you got to give credit to this coaching staff, not for using the talent that they have. But I got to give let me reword it. You got to give credit to the scouting department because they're hit and miss. Let's not get it wrong. I mean, when you look back to the fact that Micah Parsons is the only one from that 2021 draft class that actually made the cut, it says something about that year. Not maybe the players in general, but maybe hey, you got better players. So that's what I think about the Will Greer thing. Me from the day one, I was all about him being the number 2. Cooper Rush was just showing a better understanding of the offense, and as much as Cooper Rush isn't wowing anything, he's actually moving the offense where, you had Greer that's probably like a 50-50, he was probably more, he has a chance of throwing those interceptions, but he has also a chance of making a big play, kind of like the young Romo used to do. So again, you hit the nail on the head when you said that he would have made this team easily if he had been playing that way from day one, and man, he would have easily been the second guy. Yeah, but when you look about improving your team, you have to go, what's your weakest link? You're always as strong as your weakest link. And so right now, that third string quarterback was a weak link. I wanted a project guy, and then next year, what's going to happen? Dallas is going to draft a quarterback project within the 4th to 6th round. So now you went ahead and just took that 5th round draft pick that you were going to draft a quarterback with. You give it for a talent that's they thought was a second. And not only that, he's already within this offense to learn this upcoming year. So you're not even using that pick next year on a guy that's going to sit next year or whatever. He's already learning the offense this year.
Yeah,
so it's a great trade-off.
No problem with that at all.
Yes.
Glimmer Man. Well, let me go back to the chat here. I'm sure you're hitting them up. I'm just.
Yeah. I was bringing. I got on a little rant. So sorry, guys.
No. That's fine. I just don't. I'm sure you're highlighting them. Is what I mean.
Twist says on his team, he says we have the same offense with more dynamic backs. Don't act like we ain't dangerous. It's true, man. You guys, Swift. I mean, that's a dangerous back if he can stay healthy.
Slightly, maybe. I like Boston Scott and I like Gainwell. So you're talking Swift versus what was his name? Help me out.
Deuce.
The guy who.
Oh, Rico.
No. I'm talking about the Eagles. Help me out. I drafted him in fantasy for crying out loud. Sanders. Miles Sanders.
Well, didn't he go somewhere else?
Miles Sanders was explosive.
Oh yeah, last year. Yeah.
So. Yeah, we'll see. That's close. Maybe a slight with Swift, but Swift can never stay healthy, which is why he's no longer in Detroit.
I think throughout the time we've been able to give the credit, we've been able to give that offensive line credit for when it comes to this that Eagles team, and let's not try to poke at it too much in that sense. But when this team tends to run better, it's when you fake everybody with the pass. Everybody's dropping back, and then your quarterback just runs. Okay, if you had a running back that could have that same ability, your running back. That's why your running backs don't really do much. So it really says a lot about the run blocking scheme, or not really even the scheme, of the ability of that offensive line. To your passing game is amazing when the pass but your quarterback can't really do that. So it's just. It kind of counters each other. It's kind of really weird. And, if you had a nice zone blocking type of line, then that quarterback would really complement it, because then you could just open up holes and they're just popping off at any block that they can. But they don't seem to go together. And so that's why I wonder, a lot of people want to give them credit. Again, I think you've pointed out that they have different offensive and defensive coordinators. But I think the starters, I think people tend to forget that they have 8 starters that's not going to be there. They're going to be different.
On defense, yeah.
So it does mean something. And I mean, that they could be better than last year. Don't get me wrong. That could definitely be the fact. But to say that it's going to be the exact same, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not how it works. It just doesn't. Unfortunately, I hate going here. I do, but I don't know. I'm not going to go there. We're just going to go right by that. But assuming you stay healthy, let's put it this way. Offense, I'm not questioning like your offense twist, but it's the defense has a lot of question marks. I know the potential is there, but we're going to see. That's what makes it fun. I had some people responding to my morning video. I revisited the schedule, and you're crazy. I welcome it all. I do, because I'm taking receipts, and if I'm wrong, I'll come on and say I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Ultra Cowboy says, Mike Aldana is in the house. What up? MG13 is the only person who could hurt his chances. Ultra Cowboys have so many weapons that people are concerned about the Eagles. Of course, we got to be concerned, Ultra, with the Eagles' offensive line. They could pretty much dictate. I'm curious to see with the addition of Mozzie, if we're going to say that Jalen Carter is going to do this and do that, well, then you have to give our first-round linemen some credit as well. It's going to shore up the run even more. It'll be interesting. Let's put it that way. But
so we're going to go back a little bit because it was something that we were talking about. So we're talking about the cuts and everything. Glimmerman says, trying to get Lands to the practice squad was the same stupid move they tried with Ridgeway, and they didn't learn from it. And look, you have Gallimore that we were talking about. He could have easily been a guy, you may have had him pick up, but it would not have been, the sting would not have been as bad. You would have been like, well, you gave up Gallimore for Lands, and the potential, where Gallimore seems to show that his ceiling is where Lands, floor is. And so I like the potential that Lands had. And so now Colts obviously claim him. They got a nice little piece, for their future. I mean, they really don't do much with their pass rushers in the sense of complementing them with other things. So, he'll be a big waste there, and see if he ends up coming back, because obviously he doesn't have too much of a choice. But when you look at another one, you're talking about, like, for example, Houston. You saw he went to the Giants. Do you think that's kind of like the whole move right now with the lineman, the center that came from the Giants? Do you see it as more of a strategic?
I do. I mean, I think he has position flex. He's not great, but in a pinch he can come in and do it. They actually had TJ Bass.
I think he sucks at it.
TJ Bass, your alma mater.
I like TJ Bass. I like
they
him.
actually had him doing some center, just doing some snapping in practice. So they're gonna try in long term, not so much now. They're gonna try and get him involved. So,
you got Hoffman as well.
Yeah, man.
I think that was a good move.
I love what they did. The practice squad's interesting to me. It just is. We got the defensive tackle out of Tampa Bay. We decided to go with him rather than bring Bohanna back. We didn't bring Bohanna back. So, but you brought up a good point with the whole Isaiah Land thing. We have guys that aren't here long term on our defensive end. That was the only reason why I would have liked to have protected him. Not so much not protect the Hunter Lepke, because I like him too, but maybe do something like put Jordan Lewis on PUP and revisit that in 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would have rather that. Maybe let things play out. There's always injuries. You can make you can make corrections then, but whatever, it is what it is. Like Will McClay did come out and say that defensive end is one of the deepest spots.
And that's true.
I always
He's
tell
not
the
wrong.
Eagle fan.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
I always tell the Eagle fans, we were never going, even though I like the talent, we were never going to draft the defensive end out of Georgia. He dropped for a reason.
Noah
He's
Smith,
undersized. He's going to fit good with the Eagles. That's where he belongs. He wasn't going to crack our top 3 or 4 on our team. That doesn't mean he's not a good player.
It's true. It's like Jabril Cox. I
but-
mean, Jabril Cox is going to get his opportunities over
He's gonna
there
play
in
well.
Washington. You
Yep.
know, Washington always ends up having something going on with his linebacker. So Jabril Cox, you're going to eventually see him play. But
Isaac Ramirez.
again, I
What's up, buddy?
don't fear him. And in Cowboys that have had a history, I'm not, knock on wood, and I say that, but they
Okay,
haven't had
Cowboy.
one of those guys coming back to haunt them. Just not drafting somebody. But when you have somebody releasing somebody, it's always usually been a smart move. The Lance thing is going to sting a little bit because again, he's one of a fan favorite there, and but you see the opportunities for these guys. I mean, Jabril Cox has had his chances here. He gets a chance. Yep. Cox won't be that much. Cox is not the same player. He is not instinctive. Yeah, and I mean, he always had that, like, he just waited, and it's speaking of that, when he's popping that off there, that reminds me, with Mozzie Smith, when you watch that last preseason game, he had pop. He was coming off the ball. When the ball was snapped, he was coming off of that and then making a move and then coming, which is that NFL type of caliber, and, you can see where he's shaking it off. That whole get up, let's read the play, that whole thing that he was taught in college. And so, I like that move, but again, I like the two guys that are in front of him as well. I don't know if I put him in general in front of him, but you got Hankins and of course you got Osa Digizua. But what do you think about the Golston? Because to me, I thought Golston would be the one that would have been expendable a little bit.
Well, I love Golston, but
Yeah.
again, he hasn't taken a step.
He got bigger
forward that you wanted to see.
Yeah.
In game last year, he was good, but you would have, expected him to hit the ground running this training camp and pick up where he left off and actually got better, and he kind of didn't. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player. I still like the player, and I like the traits, his size, his length. I like all of it, but he hasn't really did it. They cut the cord with Jabril. They cut it with Kelvin Joseph. I'd like to get.
I like that they did that as well. But I don't like that they traded it off for another, not great
but
corner.
I like him though.
Yeah.
I like that guy. He has
the potential. He has potential. But as I pop it up, I'm talking. We're popping up the quarterbacks as well. We're talking about. I saw it. I could see. I don't know, man. When I see the photos, I see of Trey Lance and Mike McCarthy. I see them talking. I see them pointing things out. It just, to me, seems like this is a great place that he's going to be able to learn. He's going to be able to develop. And this is what I want, man. I want a project quarterback. Even if you're not going to use them or whatever, the trade potential that you have for any of these guys, you never know what kind of value you're going to get. Draft another guy, bring him back up. Do the same thing, man. McCarthy used to do this. I was talking about it for the past 2 years about how, I want those pet project type things like that. And, if we can do the Belichick thing where you draft a guy later and then you develop him and then you get Jimmy G type of thing where you're trading them off from really good picks, let's do that. And so, again, as we're going to move on. We're going to talk about each position. Let's start off at the quarterback position. Are you feeling great about Dak Prescott going into this season?
Of course I am. Just look at his confidence. He's bubbling with confidence. He's picked up the offense per McCarthy. That's all we can really go by. It'll be interesting to see how well we go into a nasty environment in prime time, the game of the week. To have him playing any preseason, and I'm not making excuses because Dak's already proven that he can come up. The last 2 years, he's lit it up. Now we haven't won. We played Tampa in Tampa. Remember, he threw for over 400 yards in Tampa, and then last year not as well. But that was. I'll be curious to see what we do in that environment, new offense. But yeah, of course and what really makes it comforting is our defense. Our defense makes me sleep good at night because I know even if we're not at our best and hitting on all cylinders off the bat, we're going to be in the game, and it's only a matter of time. I can't wait to see Brandon Cooks with the ball in his hand. Yeah. I can't wait to see, like me and you talked all last year, to get Turpin the ball in space. Can't wait for it.
Well, I mean, and when I look at this team, obviously, like I look who do you have in control? I mean, Dak, I love his accuracy. It's definitely changed from his rookie year to where he's at now. It's just night and day for me. The command, the fact that you take him, you allow him to do the last preseason game, just like McCarthy did this with Aaron Rodgers as well too. By year, whatever that he was actually playing, second or third year in there, he allowed him to throw some preseason games, and I'm all for it because obviously that means he's going to be able to take that and understand what he's going against on the field, be able to call things, and so I am all about it. I'm loving how this offense looks, even with it being bland. They're not showing you everything, but the fact that you don't have these guys sitting on routes. Now, when I look at the backup position, because Brian talked about Dak, and I'll leave it at that because I am very confident in him. Now, Cooper Rush, I think he showed me a lot last year. Our offense, I wasn't impressed with it in the sense of I liked a lot of our weapons, but again, we were going in there with Noah Brown as our number 2, and again, Cooper Rush, that was his number 1. But we go again, that was our playmaker type of guy, and so when you look at the rest of that roster and him going into this preseason, you didn't feel very confident. But again, he's rolling with number 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s, and so I don't read too much on that because I know our offense, our first string offense, will be a lot better for him. And so I feel good about going in with Cooper Rush. Obviously, I want better, but I like that you have a potential third that you're getting better. Are you a team that's getting better? Do you show improvements in this position? It already shows right now, and the season's already even beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Brooklyn Joe in the house. Lady Libra, how are you, Lady Libra? Let's see, Crystal Caramel Corn. We saw her. We need to have like a drop, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to get you guys some
Mark
each
Holmes.
one.
What's up, Mark? How are you?
Mark is on his knees.
Mark
he says.
Holmes is in the house.
Laying the flow. Laying the flow.
Down on my knees, laying floor. Pause.
So when I look, let's go to that next position offensively. Let's, the running back position. Are you happy with the choices that they went in to this season? The 3 choices there. Well, and you can count Hunter in there.
Shout
I guess
out
4.
to Tim Hargrave. Haven't seen that name in here before. Welcome to the show.
Yep.
But so what's that? Jeff Lee, welcome. So Ruben Walls is in the house. What's up, Ruben? So what was the question, Phil? I'm sorry.
Our running backs. So, you got Tony Pollard, of course. You got Rico Dowdle, and then of course Vaughn, and then Hunter.
I love it. Listen, we're gonna start out with Pollard, okay? I think Rico is gonna spell him, but you're gonna see more Deuce Vaughn. I'm really curious to see if they're gonna do multiple back sets. I think
so.
Because I could see.
Put both Tony and Deuce, and then let them roll out, and then you got to worry about both of them. Opens up that middle of the field.
Like Pollard lining up in a slot and Deuce in the backfield, or
Well, I mean, I think about the offensive line. I think about you got the back, you got the 2 backs right beside Dak. And then you got your wide receivers, and if you can roll these guys out and you bring those linebackers that's going to open up so much in the middle of the field. So I mean, the potential is there. Again, if it was Kellen Moore, I would not. I'd be like, well, all Deuce is going to do is run out there and look at the quarterback.
Deuce is loose. I just love it. Like when you get a chance, Phil, I don't know that if you had time. I know you're a busy man. Have you had a chance to see the any of the Cowboys Deep Blue on DallasCowboys.com?
No.
They have the latest one was just dropped a couple days ago. I believe it's called War Room Stories Part 2 or something. It basically outlines 8 draft picks with actual video of them drafting him back in the day, and it even included this year with Deuce Vaughn. Unbelievable.
Blue what?
If you guys haven't checked it out, please check it out.
Was it on DallasCowboys.com?
Yeah, I think it's called War Room Stories. They win Emmys every year for this, for this stuff. They had one on Chuck Howley around the Hall
Was that
of Fame.
Roku one? The Roku one?
No, it's on DallasCowboys.com. Like if you go on the app, I could pull it up right here. But yeah, man, it's let me see.
Yeah, I'll try it. I'll check it out and everything.
Yeah, you got to check it out because it's basically they delve into it. It's the Deep Blue, and like if you go on DallasCowboys.com, it's literally on the homepage. Deep Blue, behind the scenes with War Room Stories 2.
Yeah,
awesome. Check it out. But yeah, I'm like so excited to get a lead and in the fourth quarter bring in that beast Hunter Lepke and let him just run over people, run around people. It's going to be fun.
I like that we finally have a fullback on the roster. I mean, and it's been a while since it's been a true fullback. And so seeing a guy like that to be able to hand the ball off, you see what happened when they were, Dak was, had them handing him the ball, and he was doing some nice things. So,
he's like John Kuhn.
I love the whole Tony and then Deuce whole possibility. I like that Rico is
Mark
in
Hudson,
that mix.
what's up, buddy?
This is the first time
solid.
going into the season that I feel Rico is actually in a situation that he can do some stuff. Now, how long will Rico last? That's always going to be the question. But I like the fact that he looks good going into the season and he's ready to finally contribute. So,
Mr. Cowboy, what up, man?
So we'll see.
In the house.
Can't wait for next Sunday. Exactly. So it's right
Hunter
there around
is
the
our
corner.
Goal line guy, right? I don't think so, Jack. I don't necessarily.
Maybe. You got Hunter and you got Rico, probably both.
But who's going to be good on the goal line? You would never have thought it, but you can't find him. It's Deuce Vaughn. They have him in a lot of goal line sets. But obviously. You're going to see Rico on the goal line, I think. He's actually, other than Hunter Lepke. And you'll see Lepke. Those are the two if I had to guess. But, man, that's the thing. That's what I was telling you guys a couple weeks ago.
They're going to put Mozzie Smith back there. Boom! Just let him do it.
Mozzie playing fullback, just unloading on people.
So,
he don't like the game of football. He just likes hitting people.
Let's move to the next position. And Scoot and Ultra Cowboys jumping on it already. He's talking about Scoot Maker. He's talking about how elite his blocking skills and it's a great instrument for this offense. And he is not far off. And I think you can almost say that about each one of these tight ends. Jake Ferguson, we know he was built for this offense. We talked about the curl routes doing, the whole bootlegs. Both of those guys, Schoonmaker and him, because you're so worried about their blocking ability that you're going to give it your all to try to get past them. And when they kind of give you that half, and then they fall to the ground and you think you have them, then next thing you know, they're running down the field and they got a 25-yard gain because, you weren't disciplined. And so it's going to be a battle. And the fact is, when one guy gets relieved, boom, there's another one. And the fact that your outside linebackers, your inside corners, you're going to have to be on their game because when you can put both guys in there with two tight end sets, it's going to be pretty dangerous. But the fact that you release McKeon, he comes back onto the roster. This has been the thing about it every single year. If you're going to allow any tight end to do it, that's the guy. How are you feeling about the tight end room? I was feeling nervous.
Love it.
I was feeling nervous about the John Stevens. John Stevens, I didn't think he was going to make it to our practice squad.
Well, yeah, things happen, man.
Yes.
And I don't think he would have, and our team would have been different. That's what makes this game so great. Little thing. Unfortunately, injuries create opportunities and vice versa. Now John Stevens, I don't wish ill will or injury on anybody, but now he gets to stay here. He would not have cleared waivers. Unfortunately, he would have been gone. I'm told that they would have kept him, and they probably wouldn't have kept Hunter Lepke, or I don't know why they wouldn't have just put Jordan Lewis on PUP. I understand you missed the first 3-4 weeks, whatever it is. What's up, Stacy? Stacy, Roland Reviews. Roland's Reviews is in the house. Dion got his first win, Stace. Man, was that impressive.
That was a crazy game.
Today.
So Glimmerman says, in this part of the tight end whole conversation, he says, where does Hendershot fit in? We heard nothing about him in camp or preseason. Strange, don't you think? Again, go ahead, Brian. You jump on this. What do you think about Hendershot?
Hendershot is going to be fine. He's going to work the seams. He's going to be our big play guy. He's like a receiver. Very little blocking. I thought maybe he was a little on the outs. That obviously wasn't the case. He didn't even suit up the last preseason game. That gave you an indication of who was higher up than what we may have thought. He's going to be fine. He was dynamic. I know you were a little down on him, but our tight end room is second to none. I said room, people. I don't want to have people go, oh my God, you said the tight ends are the best. their whole room. There are 4 bodies in one position, not counting John Stevens. I don't know who has that kind of depth. And you could say that at a lot of positions with the Cowboys. We may not have the number 1 guy, but we have depth. We have any number of guys. So that's what's so exciting. I love Hendershot. But Ultra Cowboy keeps saying, and Jack Meeker, yeah, we talked about Land. That was a tough one. But as far as our tight end, Schoonmaker is not going to do a Dalton Schultz and miss that block at the goal line. He's going to seal up on the defensive end or whoever he's going against just enough to where the running back can get to the outside. You saw that at least 2 times last year where Dalton Schultz he was one-on-one and he couldn't just hold a block even if just for a couple seconds. So
yeah, when I look at
Ultra Cowboys, right?
When I look at the tight end room, man, I get excited, man. And this is something that I thought we were lacking of. I've never really been a Dalton Schultz fan. The fact that he was our star guy kind of reminds me of the Quincy Carter type of a phase where we had. It was just like, look, man, we're just happy to get kind of what we have. And, we had guys going down. We were throwing everything that we had in Blake Jarwin. We just had this kind of run. And then all of a sudden they kind of made this whole focus about drafting these guys. Soon as that Jake Ferguson last year, you saw me. I was all about that draft pick. He did an amazing job this year. Hendershot stepped up. He needed to step up really because Dalton Schultz had that pressure that, hey, man, I need to start blocking. I need to start doing stuff. But that doesn't mean he was all pro. And so that's kind of why we allowed him to be able to walk out the door. You're just not worth that type of money. And so, obviously you draft Schoonmaker, a very controversial pick with a lot of people. I would have gone defensive line, or not defensive line, but I would have gone offensive line. There were some guys there that I really, really wanted. But, hey, man, he's on the team. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I think he's great. He can be better than Ferguson, and I'm big on Ferguson. I see that potential. Now, can he stay healthy and be available? Right. That's always going to be the question. But he has so much possibilities that, yes, like Ultra Cowboys saying that by week 8 he could be number 1 because of the potential. But, again, he has to be available. And so Hendershot, you saw me last year. I was riding him every single game. He had some kind of personal foul. So I was kind of like, okay, how's he going to look this year going in? He looked big. Sure. He gained some weight. He looked stronger. I'm not really worried too much about him not making as many plays this preseason, just because there's so many weapons. There's so many people. Do you make the play when the ball comes to you? And so far he has. So I can't argue that that's your number 3, and he's not a terrible. He could be a lot of people's number 1, and the fact that he's our number 3.
What did I say that was going to be his strength? Blocking at the point of attack and red zone. That's all I care about this year. I mean, Ultra is saying he's going to be the best pick in the draft class, meaning our draft class.
He could be.
I mean, I don't know about that.
I like Overshown. I want Overshown in number 0, and I think that thing has so much potential.
Absolutely. And we're going to get to the number changes in a little bit, but yeah, and you saw his Schoonmaker was getting the ball in the red zone already in his very, very, very limited practice time. He's healthy now, and you saw that literally he practiced for 1 day, went into the game, and he got a touchdown. He's just a big boy, and he's got a little wiggle. What's up, Gina Dallas Diva? What's going on?
Hey, that's one name.
How's your man doing? Is he excited to have a couple days off?
Hopefully, man. Anytime. Now, when we jump to this next position, this is the part that I worry about on this offense. I worry about this not within the starting 5 because, hey, man, I love our starting 5. But once you get past that, there has been some flashes. Bass that we talked about, Hoffman, that not a pretty bad the preseason and camp and everything. Assam Richardson, I really like that pickup. So you got some guys that are solid. I'm not going to say that they're, oh my God, they're starting potential, but hey, man, you got some guys that can kind of definitely hold down the fort if something was to happen. You see guys like Josh Ball get hurt, and now he's on the injury reserve. I don't know, man. I'm ready. I'm kind of done with that whole experiment. Again, you don't have a whole lot of offensive linemen as backups. That people are just tossing offensive linemen away just because. Oh, I have so many offensive linemen. It's not a defensive end position, so it's a harder position to fill. And so the fact that we got 5 guys that can do it, and maybe a 6th and 7th, that's amazing. But I worry again about that tackle position. Not so much with Richards now being in the whole lineup possibility, but it's still that when is it going to happen? Could he go a whole season?
Deal.
You know?
And I agree, but Phil, what gives me a little bit of comfort is no team has offensive line depth that much. After your first 6, I mean, I'll give some teams have 6 really good offensive linemen. If you have 6 guys, you're lucky, But I am so glad that we did something different this year that I don't know. I know we like our draft picks, but we didn't hold on to Farniok. They could have brought him back to the practice squad. They chose not to. He took a step back this year in training camp. We decided to keep the guys that we liked, the guys that I liked. TJ Bass. They gave a lot of money as far as he was a free agent, but they gave him a decent signing bonus to come here, so that told you that they liked him. Asim Richards, shout out to Ultra Cowboy. He will be our future left tackle, most likely.
Yeah.
The kid out of North Carolina is looking very polished. The only thing he needs, and you're not going to notice this in most preseason games, is Asim Richards needs, and I say this a lot, but it's true, he needs a year in the NFL training to get a little stronger.
Bigger, yeah.
Both of those guys. But TJ Bass has been turning heads because he doesn't make any friggin' mistakes.
Yeah.
Out of 80 pass snaps in the preseason, he gave up 0 sacks. 80. So that's good. And I like that they kept went young. We should have did that with Ridgeway last year. But we should have did that with Land, but we do have Sam Williams. We do have D-Law. I mean, we have a lot of depth there, so I could see why rolling the dice. But, yeah, man, I like our offensive line. If we have an injury, we have some flexibility. We'll have to rely on rookies that have looked great so far, not big Ophie guys named Josh Ball, who we keep waiting and hoping they get the job done.
Well, hopefully, seeing how this front office, seeing how this coaching staff has been, maybe we're ready, kind of getting close, depending on if he comes back, all of a sudden he's not available again because he gets hurt. That's when you're going to see maybe something get, all of a sudden they'll pull the trigger getting rid of him. But thank God for these preseason games, because going into camp, I wasn't feeling the greatest about our depth. I kept saying this.
Right.
What happens when so-and-so gets down, But now that I've seen some of these guys play, I'm really happy now. The guys that are on our practice squad, that whole Giants thing, I don't expect him to stick around too much. I could be wrong. We'll see. But, I like that we have some depth. Do you still have faith in Walesko? Now, I saw Walesko doing some really good things. Now, again, I think he falls in that same category, availability. He just seems like he reminds me of me on the playground when I was in elementary. I think every single day I was coming in, I was crying because I got hurt. It just seems like he's always hurt. It's just you're not going to be available. You're going to come in as our backup, and you're going to get hurt 3 plays later, and then we're like, whoa.
Yeah, the best ability you can bring to the team, Matt Walesko, is availability.
Yeah.
That's how we look. You have to be available, man, and he injured his other shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know, man. I like him. I think he'll be fine long term as maybe a swing guy. I don't know that he'll ever be in the starting lineup. You see Asim Richards already.
Oh, he has that potential. You already know. Like, as soon as he hit the ground, you're like, okay, you clean this, you clean that. Yeah. You're going to be a future piece. But, yeah, well, let's go. You don't see that. You're going to be – you're destined to be the backup on the trajectory you're going.
It's up to him. He controls his future, but he can't do it if he's hurt. So get healthy, my man. Josh Ball, even though he doesn't have a guard body, he doesn't. Josh Ball has a tackle body, but he actually played pretty darn well in the preseason at right guard.
He did.
So it's like, get healthy. We'll take the depth as we go down to our stretch run to close out our divisional win and home field throughout in the Eagle game, the second Eagle game, because that's when it's going to happen. We're going to lock. Just went over the schedule. I'm feeling good, people. Get ready for a good ride.
William Tilton says, I think we should give credit to Will McClay. Yeah, a lot of credit, definitely. A lot of credit to Will McClay. I mean, the scouting department not only doing that, going other places. Okay,
Thomas
Brandon
Garrett.
Cooks, everywhere he goes, he hits 1,000 yards. You go out there and you grab him. You use that. What wide receiver drafted in the 5th round where you're going to just pick out, other than maybe Brooks? Maybe, but Brooks doesn't bring that explosiveness. Go ahead, continue. We're gonna hit the wide receivers now. We're talking to wide receivers. Give it to me, man. What do you think about? What do you think about it?
You brought up Brooks, and have I not been touting Brooks since the very
I like
beginning?
Brooks, man. You know, I can't even. Brooks reminds me of Terry Glenn. Just comfort, just gonna be there. He's just
you watch that. When you watch Deep Blue behind the scenes with the War Room Stories 2, that's what it's called, War Room Stories 2. When you see that, right, they have a bunch of different years. I think they have 8 total players that they do this with, and they end up with Deuce Vaughn. In the fifth round, Phil, all you hear is Jerry Jones saying, well, Brooks is there, and they were talking about Jalen Brooks in the 5th round. Now, as you know, we drafted I think it was Richards in the 5th, I think. I'm not sure who we drafted in the 5th. But
Richards in the 5th, because in the 4th was Fehoko. So I want to say that's right.
And then in the 6th, we went and got Deuce Vaughn, which is what they were highlighting. And then we actually drafted Brooks with one of our 7th round. I don't know if he had 1 or 2, but we got him in the 7th round. They were talking about Brooks. They were well aware of him. And when I read an article about him and his story and his 40 time, that the Cowboys had his real 40 time, why he went to the small schools. He was actually recruited at a lot bigger school. His family moved around. I knew the story, and it's almost like some of these teams didn't do their homework because Dallas was literally talking about Brooks in the 5th round, and they got him in the 7th, and from day 1 of training camp, he looked different from any other person.
He did. I agree.
He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. He learned the routes free in no time.
So when we were looking at this team, I mean, we knew that this was going to be a hard position to get into, and I think he had to know that going into training camp. You already had your 3 established guys in the 3 positions. You had CeeDee Lamb, of course, feeling really good about it. Brooks wasn't even in part of the conversation of the 3, and then you had Cooks that was cooking. Him and Dak looked really, really good. Gallup, you're expecting a big year from him, but he just needs, again, he doesn't need to be the guy. Just be the guy when we go to you. And so if other guys are pulling coverages away, like Cooks can do, and of course CD can do, that's going to open up a lot for guys like Gallup. And now everybody feels really good about Tolbert. Now, when we were watching some of these games, in the first game, you saw that big, huge pass he gets. Tolbert catches it on the sideline, and they pull it back because some kind of offensive pass interference, which was bull. And he extended his arm, so he had to push it off. Now, when you look at him, he made the catch. He got his feet in bounds, and so you were like, okay, does he make the play? And so you were seeing him, and all of a sudden they rested him in that last game. So you're like, okay, he's made that. We had already talked about at the beginning of the thing. Okay, we know Fehoko and him, they were going to be 4 and 5. Now, what order were they going to be? We don't know. Now, was that where we're going to cut it off? Because, of course, Devontae Turpin was going to be that 6th wide receiver because you count him as a punt returner, but he can play wide receiver. So, of course, Simi, I mean, he doesn't play terrible, but he doesn't play amazing. There's nothing amazing about what he was doing.
When you're towards, you're fighting for 4, 5, or 6, you need to shine somewhere. That's why the loss of Dennis Houston, he was like number 7.
Oh man, he was a great pickup, and then you can tell
he
Dak
was number 7 this year. Like I was talking about other guys not having a good camp, he was okay. But getting back to Simi, he didn't do anything special. And I think he just signed with a team for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he will be playing with the Steelers.
That's a good pickup for him. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, and that's
a young team.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Pickens
doesn't know any better.
That's why, when you get later on in the draft, you have to stick to your board, but you kind of have to in the first. Yeah, to me, the first couple rounds, you need to go with the best player available. But you know what they do. The first round, they'll go best player available. Then after that, it's best player available at position of need. And it's like you're like window dressing everything. And I get it. I would probably do the same thing. But a guy like Brooks, maybe wouldn't have had a chance in the past. But Will McClay is allowed to do what he's allowed to do. And
I think everybody coming into this camps, you have a chance. The cornerback position. Think about 2 years ago, where we're kind of going into there. Okay, what we're going to do with the cornerback position? We need to kind of complement. We get Joseph, and we're just like, okay, is he going to be anything for this? Let's go ahead and make the transition. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about the defensive side of the ball now. Let's talk about corner, of course. This position is very deep. You got now going into this year, of course, the two positions is, of course, Gilmore and Diggs. And then you got Bland playing the slot with the possibility of who right behind him. I mean, you got Lewis now finally coming back. Is he going to play in game one?
They're acting as though he is.
Yeah, that's what I see. They're just like, I'm like, okay.
And I didn't know what was going on. I feel kind of bad. What's up, Logan Motorsports?
Yeah, it's funny.
We are normally nice. You got to come on, man. There's a lot of Cowboys fans here. There's a lot of adrenaline flowing right now with the season a week away. It's about to get fun. But yeah, what was my train of thought again?
Yeah, you were talking about the D-backs.
Yeah. But are we talking about Kelvin Joseph?
We're talking about any part of position. I mean, we're talking about the depth that we're going.
Diggs, Gilmore. I'm a little concerned about Bland, not as a player, just coming back to earth a little bit, which is why I'm glad we kept Jordan Lewis, and that's what I was talking about. Jordan Lewis, I didn't realize he was going through the amount of depression that he was with that injury. Did you know about that?
Well,
remember we kept saying, "Oh, well, he's a cut candidate," but
here's
they
the
had to
thing.
go to his house.
Yeah, well, here's the thing that gets me is and Andrew Luck, I think, points it out. He was injured almost every single year, and he was just rehabbing. And it's not like you rehab with the team. You're separated. You're doing your own thing. The team's doing their whole thing. They're winning and getting the season. You're over here by yourself. It's like, one is the loneliest number that and it's just it's really depressing, and there is no like group together. Hey, we're gonna bring you some time over here to be chilling with everybody, and then you're gonna I don't know. They need to figure it. They need to figure it out somehow, because I worry about this with Overshown. I see Overshown obviously not going to be available for the rest of the season, but he has to rehab. And so what ends up happening? You get separated. You're not in there. Maybe you're watching plays. You're watching all this other stuff, but you have a tendency of being separated from everybody else. So I don't like that happens. So I'm not really surprised with the whole Jordan Lewis going through it.
Well, that injury was pretty nasty, and it's not the easiest to come. And you're, not
he made an interception
every
too.
Player is different, man. I always say this every day. I try and remind myself, because we all get caught up, right? But don't always assume that the person you're talking to is having a wonderful day in their head. So it's like you always got to try and be nice to somebody if you can help it.
Yeah.
And so a guy like Jordan Lewis, who had that. Is it Liz Frank, I believe? Basically mangled his foot. And it's like when you're playing receiver or you're playing corner, I would say corner might be the hardest position to play on the field. If you really think about it, the most stress, meaning having to constantly just, it's a hard position to play. And you got a foot that's mangled. He got in deep depression. He wouldn't return anybody's phone calls or emails. I guess the team was reaching out to him. They had to go do a well check on the guy, and they reassured him. Maybe, listen, these guys are humans, Phil. Maybe he was saying, "Oh my God, I count 4.5 mil against the cap. They're gonna cut me. My legs hurt. What's my family gonna do?" I'm glad now that I know all this that they kept him. I'm a little worried about Bland having a sophomore slump. I'm not saying he will, but in the back of my mind, those are the types of things I think about. So to keep a veteran like a Jordan Lewis, I love it.
And then they kept Eric Scott, correct? That was the other one.
They did, and that was the thing.
He was doing a lot of trailing. I was noticing a lot of trailing.
He was hot early and then cooled off. I think you could have gotten him to the practice squad. I think Jerry's put his foot down and said, "We drafted him with the 6th, and we traded
it. Yeah, we traded for next year. Yeah,
so we're not gonna.
He's guaranteed for the next 2 drafts."
So that kind of annoyed me. I think you could have got him on the practice squad and kept Isaiah Land, but and it's over now, and he's on the team. So that's good.
If he's your 5th corner, that's not a bad thing. And then you got some safeties that can play corner. And so as we go, we'll stay in the secondary, the safety room, man. I love this safety room.
Well, let's get to the trade real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Like, we traded Kelvin Joseph to the Miami Dolphins. We drafted Kelvin Joseph, number 2. He's never done anything defensively. Anything.
Well, he's had our name in the newspaper just for bad things.
Yeah, he's been good on special teams. We traded him for Noah Igbenogany. I think that's how
that was a nice swing. I like it, man. Very good.
Noah Igbenogany. That's how you say it. This man was a track athlete. He has blazing speed. Like,
he did great with Miami.
He was drafted in the 1st round. Mm-hmm. Now, if you heard his interview, Phil. If you heard his interview, you got to like it. I'm not saying he's going to come in here and be a number 1 or number 2, but he's going to be better than Kelvin Joseph because he couldn't do anything on the defense. This guy has the right attitude. He's saying he needed what happened in Miami as a wake-up call. Everybody forgets. He came out. He was only 20 years old when he came out. So he's literally only 23 now, like Trey Lance. So it's like he has everything it takes to be good, but he said everything off the field wasn't aligning for him. He's living in South Beach. You know what that's like. He's away from his family, hanging around with adults. He knows now. And I'm excited about the kid. You can't teach speed and ball skills, and he has both. His problem is just learning. He just was a step behind mentally in Miami. And he's not going to be expected to come in here as the 1st-round draft pick. He's going to be able, like you said, be your 4th guy, 5th guy, and that's perfect. Play special teams, work your way up. Yep. He's got the right attitude.
If you really think about it, he's the 6th guy, really, because you got Diggs and you got Gilmore and you got Bland, and then of course you have Lewis. that thing there, and then you got Scott. Unless you got Noah in front of him and everything, but you're sitting there.
I think that's what'll end up happening. I think you'll see Scott inactive most weeks.
Yeah.
And Noah plays special teams too, so that's the thing. We'll
I'm loving it. You got a lot of these guys also that's going to sneak up there and play linebacker. Of course, Kurt's going in there.
He's younger than Big Play Slay, Logan. So if you're saying Gilmore's old, then Big Play Slay's old,
and that's okay, man. And that's okay. And I understand. I totally
winner.
That's the thing is, I totally get it, and you can say that. You can definitely say that. But and I'm not going to put it in the same category in a sense. But again, Tom Brady was old, and you still. You worried about him when you played him. And so Gilmore, it'd be different if Gilmore had a slump last year. Oh, well, he was on the Colts, and I was dropping that kind of crap. But he was a top corner last year, man. He was making interceptions on a defense where you did not have to throw to his side of the field. You could have just tossed it to the other side, and he was still getting it. He was still causing some havoc. So the fact that he's able to teach your wide receivers, he's able to teach some of your corners, he might be, lose a step, but his ability in his mind will overshadow any of those steps that he may lose because he's already going to be there where the ball is. And yes, as a guy like Diggs and a guy like Gilmore that's going to definitely gamble, you're going to be able to beat him occasionally sometime with a double move or whatever. It's going to happen. Don't be told you. Guess what, man? Is
Yes,
if
he did,
we
Ultra
throw it,
Cowboy.
if we throw to
Yes,
you
he
10
did.
times and you scored an 80-yard touchdown on one of them, but you didn't do crap on the other 9 and you got 2 interceptions, I don't count anything on that 80-yard touchdown. You can replay it and throw it on Twitter all you want. My corner still whooped your ass, and so
I'm hyped. You guys can tell I'm hyped.
And so I look
I'm
at some of
ready to
these. I look at some of these safeties. Yeah, man. Malik Hooker might not be the greatest when it comes to coverage and the zones and stuff, but he brings a different element to this defense.
Come on, Twiz.
Wilson coming back, of course.
Wilson.
I think Wilson is the one that's kind of forgotten. He's a guy that last year was putting up sacks, was all over the field. Definitely made that little push for it. I like that camera angle. So what do you think about the depth? Not only the starters, but you got depth behind it. What do you think about Bell?
Marquise Bell.
The new
is gonna be
14.
playing some. Yeah, he went to 14, which is odd.
Mm-hmm.
I hated Jabril Cox in 14. So,
oh man,
that's fine.
did I not call Lance
you-
on 15?
yeah,
Dude.
you did. I like Marquise. Dan Quinn already told him he's going to be playing in the box. That's what everybody said. Oh my God, your linebackers are thin. When you got Jaron Kearse, you got Dono Wilson, you got Marquise Bell, all going to be playing in the box some. We're fine, man. We kept 6 safeties. We're good. We re-signed Malik Hooker. You got Jaron went to number 1. He went back to his old Clemson number.
Yep.
And hopefully Agent Zero next year. So overshown.
Yeah.
So that's the one sad part of the training camp. But listen, man, it's football. Things happen.
And that's the thing is as we make that transition, you're talking about our safeties. Now jump into the linebacker because, of course, our safeties are going to do linebacker things. Overshown, we going into this draft, I've had this one guy each draft, and this guy was the guy that I kept drafting. And so you saw him flying around. Doesn't do anything, what did I say? Doesn't do anything amazingly elite, but does everything pretty great. And he was flying around. There were still mistakes that were going to be made. But the fact that his season kind of gets, that stops in a halt, where I was really hoping that it wasn't anything as he was laying down there and not being able to get back up. I worry about the fact that, he's going to heal, but then it's going to maybe take the whole next year to kind of get out of this injury, depending on what it is. So that's what I worry about. Yeah. But he's already walking around doing stuff, so I'm not too certain.
Early.
To me, he might be like Damone Clark, where he does not pop into our lineup until the end of the year.
Well, you saw. Listen,
and we called that. We called that in the preseason too.
Yeah. Well, you saw last year. Damone played on instinct, and he played better than average. But let's not kid ourselves. Overshown was wearing the green dot for a reason, not because they wanted to give him just pump him up. He was proving book-wise he knew where to be. If you watched all the games, he was not hesitating at all. Like Mozzie will still hesitate on certain downs because he's thinking about his Michigan days. It's going to take Mozzie a little bit to learn the Dallas scheme and what he's supposed to do as a pro. But Overshown was shooting the gap, making tackles in the backfield without hesitation, wearing the green dot. He had a sense for the ball like I haven't seen since Sean Lee.
You know who he reminds me of? It reminds me of Zach Thomas. That's who he reminds me of. Just the way he goes through the garbage, he slings through there, and just he got his eye on the ball.
He always picked the right gap. He could sniff out who had the ball. You know how Jalen Smith would always whiff and tackle the wrong guy. Meanwhile you got whoever leaking out to the right side, usually an Eagle, and he makes a big hit on some dude who don't have the ball.
Yeah.
Not Overshown. So I think if you can have that part down, Phil, the physical will come. Yeah. He's already has a good attitude. It wasn't a bad tear as tears go. He didn't tear every ligament. Like I said, he has a wonderful attitude. He's going to be fine for next year. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, and then so you look at that. We're talking about Clark, the way that he's
Shout
come
out to
on.
the 40
He's
people in the
reacting
chat.
very well. I was a little afraid that Clark would do what you were talking about in the sense of Bland was going to make a transition backwards because of what's going to be asked of him. But he's looked really good. He looked really
he's looked
good
good.
next to Overshone. I mean, those two combo, I was like, ooh, that's the future right there. So it looked really good together. And so when you add these little things, okay, the depth behind that. Okay, so you talk about Harper. You know, Harper did pretty well.
I like Harper. I'm glad he has the opportunity.
Yeah,
Everybody
last
was
year,
like, oh, we should have kept Jabril.
I was
No,
surprised when Harper
done.
did not make
Done.
this roster last year because I thought he did enough. And so Harper, I think, yeah, I'm with you in the sense he's
Twist?
getting opportunity. What's the twist say?
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, yeah,
He's
thank
leaving.
you. Thank you for coming through, man. And the season's about to begin. So as we're talking about the linebackers, you know, you got Harper. There was the other linebacker?
Well, we got Leighton Vander Esch. We got
Vander Esch, but
Harper,
no, there was behind him.
Overshone. Who am I thinking? I don't have the depth chart in front of me.
I don't either. I don't have it.
Me.
But anyway, so yeah, LVE, I think he showed last year that he could become a very critical part when he wasn't in there. That's what you want. When your starters aren't in there, there has to be some kind of an effect because, you know, otherwise you're able to move on. That's what happened with Schultz. This team continued on when Schultz went out, so nobody really misses them. So when you kind of step out, they should be able to miss you at least a little bit. And I think that's what you were talking about with Mark when you're talking about Chris Jones, for example, for the Kansas City defense. That defensive tackle, when he's not in there, there is a difference in that defense.
Difference. Yeah.
So that's what you're going to see with some of these linebackers. There's somebody else I'm forgetting there. And that's
I'm looking at the
sucks.
names, and I don't see anybody. I see, obviously, Micah, Damone, Overshone, Leighton, Devin Harper. You know, that's all I'm seeing here. Obviously, we got Wanye Thomas, but he's more of a safety. The Marquise Bell, Israel Mukwamu. Yeah, I don't see it. So,
Feels
is
like
he
I'm
on the
forgetting
roster?
somebody. Feels like I'm forgetting somebody.
Well, I'm going down the roster, so keep talking. I'll see.
No,
what I can find.
so you know, we switched that thing because obviously some of those guys
Pahoko?
he's more of a
But
defensive
he's a
guy.
lineman, yeah.
Lineman. Oh man,
I want to touch
somebody.
on him too before we get.
Well,
out
we're
of
going to
here
go in
today.
there. I mean, the linebackers transition. I mean, you're going to have your edge rushers that you can, you know, Dante Fowler, he steps up, but is he much of a, an outside linebacker? No, he's just that wide edge rusher, which is fine. And that's what I was talking about. If you had, you know, a Mozzie or Hankins on one in there, and then you have, two more interior defensive linemen that are on that line. You got two outside linebackers up there with two inside linebackers. It's that type of 3-4. You're rushing like five guys, and they're powerful rushers. Because Dante Fowler, I mean, yeah, you think of him as a defensive end, but you also can think of him as a linebacker as well too. So I mean, he's not the guy that's going to go out there and cover a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't see it, bud. So I don't know.
I don't know where I was thinking. But as we transition to defensive ends, you were talking about it. Why do we get rid of Lands? I mean, that one is going to hurt for a while.
Well, that was my issue, with the D ends, because you have Dorrance Armstrong, which I keep hearing whispers of trade. Now, that's not going to happen now. I can't, foresee. But we got Armstrong, okay? I would assume he's going to be here. He's young. But we got Dante Fowler, who's not the old, he's not the youngest. So
I say one
now
more year,
he's only
you'll
on
see
a
Fowler
1 year
for here.
deal,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, and obviously we have, D Law and Sam Williams is young, but D Law is not the youngest. So you wonder why they didn't stick with Land. I know he was a raw guy and probably wouldn't have played much, so they took a shot and lost. But I think we're good, but long term, we're really relying on the often in trouble Sam Williams. He needs to grow up. Now, Sam Williams is an unbelievable nice guy in the locker room, very quiet and soft-hearted and like soft-spoken. But if you can't stay out of trouble, it ain't gonna work.
When I'm looking at these ends, these defensive tackles, Golston, that's my question. I want to see something from him. I don't need you just to be a body. It's just you were an edge rusher before, and then now you're switching over to the defensive tackle. I just need you to find your identity. Fehoko, I mean, you're going to see him. He has this just nastiness that his motor's constantly going. So he's going to be a great substitution later on in that game when everybody's kind of getting tired, and he's going to be just fresh in there, just pissed off. And so I like what he's going to be able to bring. Lawrence
was not high on him this year. He didn't have. He said he did nothing in camp.
And he didn't. But I think
my only.
And I'm not really worried about it. He might be one of those. Yeah, he might be one of those guys that game he turns it on.
Yes, that's what I mean. He's going to be a flash guy all over the field. I'm willing to roll with a guy like that. He's young. Let's do it. I mean, yeah, because I've really heard people talk not bad about him like as a player, but he just hadn't flashed. Nothing like too exciting, So, but
yeah,
I mean, he might be. They said that about Zach. Remember, he was a bad practice player.
Yeah.
Yet, if Fehoko, when you turn on the tape in college, where is he? Always around the football. So I'll take a guy like that.
When you look at who's your two starting edge rushers? You got Parsons and you got Lawrence. I love those two. I mean, Lawrence has his times where he flashes, but hey, man, I think he could be hungry. He definitely has his moments where he definitely is a problem for other offenses. Now, when you look at Parsons, of course, that guy, man, you're just waiting for him to kind of be unleashed, and he's going to be a problem. There's going to be some times where he can be held.
How are you?
You feel a little bit, Daniel Jones, man, he's going to have to be moving, getting that stuff out of there because he's going to be coming. So when you look at the depth behind it, I like the Fowler, behind him. I like him being the depth guy. I like Fehoko being that depth guy.
Sam
Williams, a depth guy. That's amazing. That would be starters in other places.
That's why I was saying that the guy out of Georgia wasn't going to play for us.
And
I'm
Ultra
not trying
Cowboy,
to be mean, but he wasn't going ahead of Micah and DeMarcus.
Yeah,
he wasn't going ahead of Sam Williams. Yeah. So, okay, is he going to be our fourth guy? That's where they were looking, and I don't know that he was going to fit in our scheme. Yeah. Ultra Cowboy says, Primetime Phil, watch Barrett Carter.
I was watching him in college. Yeah, I was watching him. I mean, the zeros stick out for some reason. But also, Ultra Cowboy also says Cowboys are higher on Wheat than Land. They had a fifth rounder on Wheat.
Oh, the Derek J Network. I got you, man. I'm holding you to that.
Let me pull this.
He says Micah Parsons is going to have 4 sacks week 1. Micah Parsons, did you guys see Micah on the sideline in the last preseason game?
No, he
looked pissed. Like he just wanted to hit somebody.
Yeah.
You gotta love a guy. I just hope he can stay fresh all year, man, because he's just
that's what I want.
An hour.
But you got some depth. You got some depth that can relieve him, and I think that's the nice thing. Now, when you look at the interior, that's where my question mark a little bit. Of course, we're talking about Goldston. Gallimore was on that. Are they going to trade him? Could he be that guy they trade?
Starters, right? You got to start out with.
Yeah, but okay. So let's start out with starter. Who's your starter? Are you Hankins? Is automatically Hankins is definitely one of those guys. Is it Osa? Yeah, Osa and Hankins. There you go.
Osa's got a huge ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
I love Osa.
Osa is the man.
Yep.
So you got Osa and Hankins. And then, okay, if they don't start Hankins, it'll be Osa and I'm
okay with it. Either way, you're
it really
punching
doesn't
those.
matter. That's why I think the Mozzie Smith pick was so great because he's not coming in having to be Hankins or having to be Osa. We already have those guys.
Yep. He can learn.
He has to just stop the run and take up a double team.
Yep.
And he's well ahead of the schedule. He doesn't have to be like Jalen Carter has to be. In Philly, Jalen Carter has to get to the quarterback. And, Jordan Davis has to do what Mozzie does. Problem is Jordan can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
But we'll see, and I'm not trying to be mean, but, we have, in any particular order, I don't think it matters, We have our goal line, but we have Hankins, Mozzie, Osa, we got
Neville Gallimore is that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Gallimore is where Golston and Gallimore might, okay, so maybe the fact that it's your 4 and your 5, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's a really good. Your first 3 are starting potential guys, and that's where it should be because those guys are going to rotate. And then you got those guys. Okay, all 3 of them. Golston can. He's come in there. He's been a really good. I'm a body in there, making the run go a different direction, and that's really what you need to do. You need to be able to force it another way if you're not making the play yourself. And he's been a really good to doing that. I think again, Gallimore is that guy to me that. I was ready to move on from him. We'll see. Maybe he's our new Tristan Hill, where you're just not ready to kind of, forget about that. Or has he been showing things?
He could thank one person for being on the team and being able to communicate better with him. And since Leon Lett is it Leon Lett or was it Jim Jeffcoat? Either way, they're both not on the team anymore. Sharif Floyd is the new D-line coach, and he has been able to reach Neville Gallimore, and he's the one that stood on the table saying he wants to keep him.
Okay.
And that's fine. So Neville will give you pass rush. That's what's great about Neville.
Well, him and Osa together won't be bad then.
No.
So you have your different combinations of tackles that you put together.
You got what you want, you know, and that's going to be fine, man. I mean, good luck running up the middle. You're not going to be able to, okay? You're not. You better run early on down. You better run on passing downs is when you better run against the Cowboys. And, okay, so it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. You're going to get 6 yards, okay. You know, if you're happy with that, that type of deal. So, our defense is going to be, I had a couple Eagle fans come in and say, well, they're not going to be the number 1 overall. I'm telling you right now that they are.
I think they could. But that doesn't mean they're going to.
Yeah. That doesn't mean they're going to, but they are. If you were to have odds, they would be in the upper 90. They're up near the top.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is what it is, man.
So when we look, I think the only other part that we haven't talked about other than the coaching, I'm really liking the coaching, is of course the special teams. How are you feeling about the kicking going in now to the season?
I like that our kicker can boom the ball out of the end zone. I like that he hit a 59-yarder. If he can, be 50% from 59 yards, I'm okay with that. It's the extra points and the 45-yard field goals. I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with Brandon Aubrey until he doesn't get the job done. I like his head on his shoulders. Got to give the kid a chance. He's already getting better now that he's not in the competition. Let's roll. We got a Pro Bowl punter. We're good.
Yeah, our punter's amazing. The kicker, I feel a lot better than what I did in the beginning of that. Oh, we need to get a kicker. We need to get a kicker. We need to get somebody in here. We need to get somebody's cousin. I don't care. We need to get that guy on YouTube that does that machine that kicks the thing, and just get me something in here. And so now Ultra Cowboy says this, and I mention it as well. Turpin, man, Turpin's the one. I love what Turpin can do, but Turpin has this thing. He's little, man. The ball just pops out. Hey, don't worry.
On to the damn football.
Turpin's
but he's a Pro Bowler too.
Yeah.
So let's not forget.
He has potential.
Offense, defense, special teams. We have the decided advantage at special teams against anybody in our division.
And I like it. Yes, he can. It can be bad, but guess what? It's been bad that way all the whole seasons before. We just haven't had that guy that could actually break it and get us 50 yards or get us a touchdown or something like that. So I like that he's there. It's just he needs to hold on to the football, and so. We'll see how that goes. The coaching staff. Let's talk about the coaching staff because how do you feel about this coaching staff? I see what he's doing. I'm going to bring it up. That's why I want to talk about the coaching staff before I bring that. Talk about that.
Hold on to your shorts, Taki.
How are you? How are you feeling about this coaching staff going into it? You haven't even thought about that, have you?
Back-to-back 12-win seasons. Dan Quinn takes a backseat to nobody. Mike McCarthy's a Super Bowl winning coach that everybody wants to shit on, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't won and won without him. This is his first time calling plays as a Dallas Cowboy. Let's go.
Yeah.
I like our special teams coach. I think we're good, man. I love Al Harris. Big shout out to the Eagles, the ex-Eagle Al Harris and Green Bay Packer. I'm fine, man. I'm fine. What do you think about our coaching staff?
So when I go down the
we got
whole
rid of
thing,
Kellen.
We got rid of
Good
Kellen.
call,
That was
Richard.
my thing. Again, Jason Garrett. I was so Kellen Moore. And so to see them both gone, I was very, very, very happy with. What you replace them with is the potential. I like it. I like what this offense is doing. Offense on these backups in preseason. Before, with the whole Kellen Moore, what the percentages of for completion was like, 50-something%. And then you look at what these backups were able to do under this new system, not wide open, not this playbook, let's just show the NFL what we have. No, just this basic, simple, this is what from our playbook. And they were able to complete over 70% of the passes as backups. That says a lot about your offense and the efficiency. So I like the potential that it has. I like the fact that Dak is calling things. So I like what that offensive side is doing with Scott. Man, I can't even say his name right now. Scott Schottenheimer, right? Anyways,
Schottenheimer.
and so when I look at the defense, I'm with you, man. Dan Quinn, I'm a big fan of his. I like Al Harris in that secondary, coaching these young guys. I mean, I don't want to walk away from that at all.
I like the English guy we got.
Yes, he's a great defensive guy.
Line.
Yes, I agree. I mean, very good coaches. And when
guy.
when you look at these teams, when they look at the Cowboys, like for example, I'm going to go back and yes, I'm going to reminisce. But when you look at the Cowboys coaching staff from those teams of those 90s, where they went off to be amazing coaches, and so. Every one of them had a potential.
And we went back old school with our O-line. We have an O-line coach who coached for
Marty
all the
Schottenheimer's
greats.
son, yes. I loved Marty Schottenheimer. That guy was amazing.
He what's his name? Mike Solari.
Yep.
He coached under Tom Landry. That's where he got.
And that was where I was kind of iffy about. But Solari's done an amazing job with this offensive line.
Yeah, you see it.
I do see it. And I was worried a little bit, but this coaching staff has done an amazing job. And so I like the fact that, you have young talent, but you're coaching them right. And so with Sam Williams, yes, you got to get that. You don't have a life coach. That's the problem, is the Dallas Cowboys need a life coach. A guy that's going, hey, man, don't do that. Hey, that's not smart.
Yeah.
Just somebody that just, hey, man, that's not smart to do. So if they could get that wrapped up, that would be amazing. Maybe Kevin Joseph would have been a success here as well, too. So as we're going to go forward into the season, we're starting it up next week. You're not going to be, obviously, during the game, but we're going to talk about a pre-game, an after-game. I don't even know if I'm going to draft
figure that
broadcast during the game.
Yeah, well, Captain Taki wants to know if we're streaming. Well, Captain Taki, I think you were here last year. We will do we haven't decided for the whole season as far as what, but this week we're gonna do our normal preview show, which will be when? I guess it'll be.
Well, it's gonna be that Saturday.
Right?
Well, usually the Saturday, or we just
we'll
try
a show.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a show after the game. Now, we will be live streaming during some of the Cowboy games, and that's ultimately going to be up to Phil and my availability, which should be most of the time. But, it's if we want to live stream every game. May not be every game, but I'm going to the game on Sunday. So, we're expect, like Phil wants to stream.
I was thinking about it. I'm back and forth, so I'm just.
If he doesn't, he doesn't. If he does, he does. I think he probably should, but it's up to him, But I'll zoom in from the stadium. I had already told Mark I'll zoom in for a little bit for him. But yeah, like Phil, it's like it's up to him. It really doesn't matter. But normally I think we are going to try and stream the game. We got to start doing it. Everybody wants it. They want to see more of us. So we're going to do it. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to come up with the score though, for the game, so.
I can't scream the actual. I can't pop the game on because then I'll just be kicked out. You'll never see me again. YouTube is like, man, we were trying to sell this ticket.
See, Glimmer Man wants you to stream during the game. So and
he's
promising to be.
I just I know Mark is over there, and I'm gonna have like 5. I was like, I'm okay if I had 5 people. I'd be happy with 5 people. I'm like, yeah, we could talk about the game.
Yeah, it's
So Sunday
Mark
night games.
does his own thing with his band of brothers that are all sitting at the desk. He'll have a couple fans over with half shirts, half Zeke Elliott shirts, like pounding some, his subs and the Jobu wings. But it's something that we need to do as well. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I'll be there Sunday. I would imagine Phil's going to stream and we'll zoom in before maybe halftime. I'm going to do a post-game show, whether we do it together, it doesn't matter. I have a room down there, so it's not like I'm going to hurry up and leave, So I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to the hotel around 3-ish. You check in, relax a little bit, head to the game. When the gates open, get some content before the game, watch the game. After the game, I'm not going to have to rush and drive 2 hours home, which will probably be 3 hours with all the traffic. I'm just going to sit there and record and hopefully talk about a Cowboys win, right?
Damn right. That's funny. So when next Saturday for sure, the game that we have is a Sunday night football game. That's the opener. I'm not really surprised that the networks put it on like that. But for the Saturday, for example, Saturday we'll pregame the New York game, and we'll talk about these Cowboys. Of course, we wanted to give this one a good talking because I wanted to go down the roster. I wanted to feel how we felt about each individual player. And they were, man, great audience. So we had like almost 40-something people at some point. So so I appreciate you guys coming through, man. You guys talking football. We're excited, man. 1 week away. It's right there. This roster is put together.
He's looking. He's hot.
This roster is put together. It's got great potential. Of course, there's always going to be that guy that. There's going to be that. There's going to be that one guy that we're going to miss, man. And their Lands was that guy this year. So. We wish him the best. Again, Cox and Houston, wish you the best except if you go against us. But, hey, man, we got a great roster. We got a very deep roster, a very young roster, and I'm interested to see how this offense comes out because, hey, we haven't seen them in the preseason. We've only seen flashes of them during some training camp stuff, and it was against an elite defense. Let's be real, a very good defense, and so they've had a lot of time to try to sharpen their craft, really. So, Brian, I guess we'll see you next Saturday, and of course you'll be jumping on
right here next Saturday, going into the box for the first time.
Yeah, here we go, man. I got to get some kind of animation ready for that because that's a whole thing if anybody's ever watched this program. So again, I appreciate you guys coming through. NFL season ready to go. Tell me who you guys are going for. Tell me who you guys are surprised about roster cuts. Who do you guys want to jump out there and get? There's a lot of things that open up within even this first week of the season. So hey, we'll see where these Cowboys end up by the end of game time and see who's sitting. Okay, so game time. I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate all you guys in the chat. But hey, next time we talk, we'll talk about the actual game. All right.
Yes, can't wait.
So I can't wait, and I won't forget that at all. But one thing I won't forget is to do what?
Always ring that bell.
Damn right.
Hey! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
What you do, you're like a little screw loose type of guy, and that's how I am. So I'm digging it, big guy. I am.
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
Game Time Brian, otherwise known as the mailman here.
Cool name. Superpowers?
Broadcasting from the illustrious Jobu Studio.
Come on, are you going to tell me who that is?
Primetime Phil, and of course my co-host, Game Time Brian.
Oh, Jesus Christ, this place is going to explode. $100,000, I don't even need to hear it.